What's going on, everybody? You found Bottom Tier Collector, and this is the channel where you can find bottom tier content from a bottom tier creator. Not saying the usual slogan, going back to the closet days with the old slogan, because it's not about me all the time. Sometimes I want to make it about the community. So I'm not going to thank you for your support of my channel. I want to thank you for being awesome people and supporting other channels out there in the community. I want to shout out Super Russ 9000. He shouted me out in a video recently, maybe a video response video. I can't remember what he was shouting me out for, but I'm eternally grateful for that shout out. Super Russ is a very cool dude. I've gotten to know him through his channel. He does live streams with his co-host Simple Simon. And I think it's a variety show. They don't really tend to stick to one topic. He's recently did a Royal Rumble live stream, so he also talks about wrestling. And he does all kind of stuff like hauls and video game streams. And Russ is just a really cool dude. Right now he's doing a community growth project, and it's not for him to grow his channel. It's to try and put attention on other people in the community. So go check out that community growth project video and just drop him a sub, a like, a comment, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Again, Super Russ, thank you for the shout out. And I also need to shout out Fanboy Prime. He did a video response to Brian LCS and shouted me out. Yeah, again, thank you for the shout outs, guys. Fanboy Prime, I would like to describe his channel a little bit. The main attraction, what everybody loves Fanboy Prime for, is when he brings his son, Ollie James, onto the camera and they discuss toys and I think sometimes comics in Ollie James' collection. That seems to be the biggest hit for Fanboy Prime, and it's hard to deny the cuteness of these kids when we put them on camera. You know how popular they get. He's recently gotten his wife to be a part of the channel. She throws shade on him and cuts promos on him in his live chats and his live streams, and she's a big wrestling fan. Excuse me. But the whole family's a bunch of wrestling fans, and they love wrestling. It's everywhere in their backgrounds and their content. Fanboy also does hauls, almost said Superman hauls. He's a big Superman collector. He's trying to collect the entire death, and forgive me if I get this wrong, because I know there's like 2 or 3 story arcs that come off of Death of Superman. But it's, to my knowledge, it's just Death of Superman. He's trying to get every iteration of every book, if I'm saying that correctly. So he's not trying to just get every book in Death of Superman. He's also trying to get the newsstand, the DC Universe variant, the second printing, third printing, yada, yada, yada. Trying to get every iteration of every book in Death of Superman. Said that once, said that twice, and not saying it again. And so it's really fun watching him collect that. I really like seeing people hit their goals, and I love seeing the accomplishments people have in this community. And 2 cool dudes. Again, Super Russ 9000 and Fanboy Prime. Go check them out. They recently shouted me out. I feel like I need to do something in return for them. Boost their channel numbers. So you've read the description already, the title. We're just going to jump into it. I read a book in my collection. You know, last time I said this, I'm going to read a book in my collection and talk about it. I felt really dumb. Of course I'm going to read a book in my collection. And hopefully I read more than a book in my collection. But I flipped through Cartoon Ones. I started off reading it. It's a bunch of short stories featuring the characters all us 90s kids love. Ed, Edd n Eddy, Cow and Chicken, IR Weasel. Oh my god, am I even a 90s kid? I Am Weasel and IR Baboon. Sheep, Courage the Cowardly Dog, Johnny Bravo. And then I was disappointed. I bought this book for one character and one character only. And if you follow my channel, you understand I have a big affinity for Captain. I did it. I told myself I wasn't going to do it. I stopped myself before I did it. This is not Captain Planet. It is Space Ghost. I told myself I was going to goof and call him Captain Planet at least once, just because of how my brain works, and I almost did it. No, Space Ghost. I freaking love Space Ghost. All iterations of Space Ghost, the Silver Age Hanna-Barbera version, the 90s version where he's on Space Ghost Coast to Coast, and then spins off into Cartoon Planet, and then the Alex Ross comic books, and then he's also in the book I'm fixing to talk about. But I just love Space Ghost, and I'm anxious to get my finances in order and bring in some extra income and hit these comic book goals that I currently have going for myself. I'm at the tail end of a lot of my original comic book goals, and then kind of my second wave of comic book goals. I'm going to make a lot of room for Space Ghost. I cannot believe I'm blanking on his name. This is one of my. I'm back in a Coast to Coast kick. I've been watching Coast to Coast on HBO Max again. Little man loves it, which makes my heart smile. That I can enjoy Coast. I hated Space Ghost Coast to Coast as a kid. I will. What's the word I'm looking for? I will divulge that information, but. I love Space Ghost Coast to Coast now, and knowing that I didn't appreciate it as a kid, I'm really put at ease knowing that Little Man loves Space Ghost Coast to Coast as well. But yeah, Space Ghost wasn't even in the issue. Just over the river and through the woods to get to the point. He wasn't even in the issue. So I ended up reading Future Quest 1. And this is a really cool freaking idea. I was in the hobby when this came out. And when I say in the hobby, I mean actively in the hobby. Going to the LCS, having a pull list, buying books off the rack and reading them. The Tuesday and Wednesday routine. Of course, back then it was just a Wednesday routine. But when this was coming out, I either didn't have enough money or just thought, this is cool, but I don't really want to collect it. And I'm killing myself now because I've been dabbling in these Hanna-Barbera books from, I think this is like 2017, 2018, 2019. And I've been dabbling now. And I wish I was in it back then when they came out on the shelves and I wouldn't have as much to collect. Now I think I'm gonna cover collect. I think I'm gonna go for the covers on these Hanna-Barbera books. I read Future Quest 1, and it is what it looks like. A connected, shared Hanna-Barbera universe, and I think that's really freaking cool. Now we've got Minotaur is right here. I don't know if you can see Minotaur, and then I forget these two. I want to call them the Argonauts, but that's not them. They're not the Argonauts. I know that. And then I was about to flip it like I had a clear backing board. The Impossibles are on the back, and I forget some other Hanna-Barbera characters, but it largely doesn't include a lot of this. It largely focuses on Johnny Quest and Haji, and Birdman's in it. Birdman's freaking in it, and we get this prelude. So we're immediately dropped into this prequel story. Some space ranger. This is from the Silver Age. So I'm trying to think in Silver Age. The prequel. We're not given a lot of information with the prequel. I don't really know who I'm reading about in the prequel. I don't even know what he is. I know he's a human or a humanoid character on another planet, but he's some kind of space ranger or something like that I think would, you would have seen in the 60s, the Silver Age. But he's destroyed all these power plants on this planet that's supposed to beat back the bad guy. They've evacuated all the citizens or whatever. And one of the dying characters tells him, you've got to stop. I don't remember the villain's name, but you got to stop the monster, or this was all for nothing. And so then Ken, I think his name's Ken. Kyan. It's Kyan. Kyn. Kyan. You can say Ken or Kyan. Kyan sounds a little more spacey, so I'm going to go with that. They end up defeating the monster, but it blows up. The monster blows up, and I think we're then sent to Earth, present day, where we see Johnny Quest and Haji fun and games with, I forget his name, the gray-haired guy that I always thought was their dad when I used to watch Johnny Quest as a kid. But their dad is, in fact, I forget their dad's name, and I just read this comic book. Johnny Quest wasn't really my favorite Hanna-Barbera cartoon. I'll divulge that. But I didn't hate Johnny Quest, so, I don't have the greatest memory of the characters in Johnny Quest. But anyways, the silver-haired fox that follows Johnny Quest and Haji around. They're doing something, getting ready. They're contacting Dr. Quest. I'm going to call him Dr. Quest because he is a doctor. He's a scientist. And they're talking back and forth about these vortexes. There's some kind of vortex that Dr. Quest has discovered that they open up, and there's some kind of space-time vortex deal, and they're staying open longer and longer, and the longer these vortexes stay open, the more chaotic the environment around these vortexes gets. And while this scene is happening between Dr. Quest and, I think his name's Ryder, it's coming to me. I think his name's Ryder. Put it in the description, the silver-haired fox that is kind of like Johnny Quest's bodyguard. Put that in the comments, please. So while this conversation, this dialogue is going on, we're introduced to Birdman and some girl from Jakarta, I believe. Now, if you don't know anything about Birdman, they don't explain to you that he's Birdman at first. But if you've seen Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law, another fantastic show that I love. I love me some Birdman. And if you know anything about his Purple Eagle Avenger, then you knew he was Birdman. But they don't explain to you it's Birdman at first. And they essentially meet up with Dr. Quest, and that's when he's explaining to everybody, both Ryder and Johnny Quest and Birdman and his female companion, about these vortexes. Something appears out of the sky, which I know what it is. It's Space Ghost's ship, but it's not designed to be visible. It's designed to be something we don't really know what it is. But, for the sake of the story, I'm just going to say, something comes out of the sky and crash lands a couple miles away from where Johnny Quest and Ryder are. And then something else comes out of the sky, this big, huge black ship. And it's going towards the crash site of what came for the spaceship. And it sends out these spider robot creature things. It's like a big eyeball that sits on these granddaddy long legs, if you will. And they shoot lasers out of their eyes. Very Silver Age concepts here. And they're shooting them at Johnny Quest and Haji, and then Ryder, I think his name's Ryder, again, name in the description, the comments, not description. He sees soldiers are coming down from this big black spaceship, and shit's about to get real, in the jungle. They're in the jungle, that's kind of the setting. And Haji and Johnny Quest end up in a river or something, and they see something bubbling up from the water, and out of the water, Space Ghost comes, and he says, "I will not stop you, but I will destroy you." And that's like the last page. So didn't get Space Ghost that much, and I'm interested to see why Space Ghost is being a heel here. I need to pick up Future Quest 2. This definitely was a good #1 issue. It baited me, got me interested. It showed me that the Hanna-Barbera universe is connected. And there was like a whole slew of these. It wasn't just Future Quest. I mean, there was a solo Space Ghost. There was a solo Johnny Quest. There's a solo Minotaur series, I think. Yeah, it was just this whole Hanna-Barbera movement at DC, just seemingly random, just a seemingly like random movement out of nowhere a couple of years ago. And I'm excited. This issue got me excited, and it's a little on the serious side. There's not as much comedy. There's not as much Silver Age goofiness, but that's cool. It feels like it's Hanna-Barbera matured for me and people my age and older, and that makes it a little more enjoyable. It gives it a little more cool factor, in my opinion. And then, seeing Birdman interact with Dr. Quest and Space Ghost interacting with Johnny Quest, that's cool. Like a shared Hanna-Barbera universe. I hope these books come back, and I hope to see Space Ghost more in comic books and Birdman. I feel like Space Ghost and Birdman, with the popularity of superheroes, I feel like the Hanna-Barbera branch of Warner Brothers should be capitalizing on that. Give us more Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law. Bring back Space Ghost Coast to Coast, or come up with a new animated cartoon. I feel like the audience is there if you put it out there. I don't know what these books sold for back in the day. If they were, I don't know if these books were canceled because of lack of sales, or if they were intended to be cut off at some point. I don't know, but this makes me very nostalgic, and I hope I get the opportunity sooner rather than later to dive into this Hanna-Barbera universe. If you are into Hanna-Barbera, I'm going to recommend this book all day. It wasn't just the most amazing, fantastic read ever, but it was a cool first issue. In a shared Hanna-Barbera universe. I think that'll do it for me. Again, thank you, Super Russ 9000. Thank you, Fanboy Prime, for the support. And as always, thank you for liking, subscribing, commenting. Hope you enjoyed this video. Until next time.